So in the case of Laplace transform, we have taken the function as f of t. In the case of Fourier transform, we take the function as f of x. In the case of Laplace transform, the operator we have taken as L. In the case of Fourier transform, we take the operator as capital F. So capital F applied on f of x. In the case of Laplace transform, we have used this integral value to evaluate the Laplace transform of the function. In the same way, this also can be evaluated from the value of the integral, which is integral minus infinity to infinity. See the limits. The limits of the integral value we are taking from negative to positive of f of x. This f of x is the function whatever we are asked to find into e to the power of isx dx. So if you replace the value of f of x by different functions, we get Fourier transforms for different types of functions over here. So integral minus infinity to infinity f of x e to the power of isx dx. After applying the Laplace transform to a function of t, the resultant we are getting in the form of function of s. In the same way, here also we get, because we have an s over here, we get here also as a function of s. We write it as capital F of s. So how we write the value? Fourier transform of a function f of x is equal to f of s. To get this value, we use the integral from minus infinity to infinity f of x e power isx dx. You write down this definition. We'll start with Fourier integral theorem, which is the first theorem in this concept. So a function f of x can be expanded using Fourier series in the interval minus c to c according to this formula. We have seen already this a0 by 2 plus sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity an cos n pi x by c plus bn sin n pi x by c. This I'll keep it as equation 1. We know actually the values of a0, an and bn also. We are calling it as Euler's formula. So how we write the value of a0? The value of a0 is 1 by c integral minus c to c fx dx. An value is 1 by c integral minus c to c fx cos n pi x by c dx. Bn is equal to 1 by c integral minus c to c fx sin n pi x by c dx. So in the case of Fourier series, what we have done, we have seen that a function f of x can be expanded as an infinite series in powers of sine and cos, in terms of sine and cos. So according to this formula. We have also seen that the values of a0, an and bn also can be calculated according to this formula, which is called as Euler's theorem. So in separately, we have learned this separately, and we have seen how to evaluate this a0, an and bn also. Now what we do is to reduce this theorem, whatever we have calculated as a0, an and bn, these three values we will substitute in this expansion. So if you substitute, what we get a0 and substitute here. So a0 is 1 by 2. So the value is 1 by 2c integral minus c to c. Since we have an f of x here, we have an integral over here. I will write with another variable f of t dt because the value is same, whatever may be the variable over there. Plus 1 by c is constant. I will write like this: sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity. And what is the value of this integral? Integral minus c to c. The function is f of x cos n f of t. I'll write because we are writing in the form of x over t over here. N pi t by c. We have this is an into cos n pi x by c. Cos n pi x by c. I will join both the terms plus bn value f of t. Sin n pi t by c, this is bn. Sin n pi x by c already we have in the function n pi x by c. So this is the value we have with dt. So what we have done in this, we have simply substituted the values of a0, an and bn. So how we get this value? 1 by 2c integral minus c to c f of t dt plus 1 by c sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity integral minus c to c. F of t is common, we'll take it out. See how this value is. Cos A cos B plus sin A sin B. Cos A cos B plus sin A sin B can be written as cos A minus B. So how we write down the value of cos A minus B? Cos A minus B. So t minus x n pi by c dt. Here we have t, here we have x with n pi by c common over here. So cos A cos B minus sin A plus sin A sin B can be written as cos A minus B. Now we will assume here, if okay, you complete this, I will continue with the next step. Write down this part first. So what we have done, we have assumed that integral minus infinity to infinity mod f of x dx converges. So with that assumption, we have seen on right hand side as c tends to infinity, this value is less than or equal to this term, where this is converging. So this whole value tends to 0, approaches to 0, because we have assumed that this integral value converges. So automatically the first term on right hand side is becoming 0. So we are left over with the second term. We see what actually the second term reduces to as c tends to infinity. So what is the second term we have in the equation? So in the equation 2, the second equation, the second term we have as c tends to infinity, we write like this. Limit c tends to infinity, sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity. We have the value as 1 by c, integral minus infinity to infinity, f of t cos n pi t minus x by c dt. So this is the integral value we have over here. Now what we do? Suppose if you take pi by c is equal to some delta lambda, this term pi by c, if you take it as delta lambda, if you take this relation, see what actually the limit becomes. We have c tends to infinity. If c tends to infinity, what will be the value of 1 by c? 1 by c tends to 0. So if c tends to infinity, automatically delta lambda tends to 0. Then, so with this relation, we have limit as delta lambda tends to 0. What is the value we get over here? 1 by c. How can you write the value of 1 by c? Delta lambda by pi. So delta lambda by pi sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity. Integral minus infinity to infinity f of t. Pi by c is delta lambda we have written. So n into delta lambda cos times f of t cos n into delta lambda t minus x. So now what we do, we write down this in the form of, see we have limit delta tends to 0, delta lambda tends to 0. We have a function over here. So how can you write this value? Limit as delta lambda tends to 0, 1 by pi, I'll take it out constant, sigma n is equal to 1 to infinity, delta lambda. We have a function over here, some function of n into delta lambda. See that some function of n into delta lambda. How can you write this value? This can be written as integral 0 to infinity some f of lambda d lambda. Nothing but simply definition of an integral. Summation can be converted into function of an integral. So how the equation as c tends to infinity, how the equation 2 reduces to, see the equation 2 what we have written? The first term we have made 0, the second term we have got this function. So how can you write this value? The equation becomes f of x is equal to 1 by pi. One integral is 0 to infinity. This whole value we have written as integral 0 to infinity. Second integral already we have minus infinity to infinity. F of t cos lambda into t minus x dt d lambda. This is known as Fourier integral of f of x. Okay, so if you expanding cos lambda t minus x, what we get? This is in the form of cos a minus b. So what we get? F of x is equal to 1 by pi integral 0 to infinity. This is cos a cos b. I'll write it here. Cos lambda t cos lambda x plus sin lambda t sin lambda x. Cos a cos b plus sin a sin b. That will expand it here. Cos lambda x, I'll write it here. And the second integral we have minus infinity to infinity. F of t cos lambda t dt d lambda. See how we have written this function. We have expanded and we have written the first term. What is the second term we have? In the same way we have sin also. So plus, so 1 by pi is common for all the terms. Integral 0 to infinity sin lambda x, integral minus infinity to infinity f of t sin lambda t dt d lambda. So we got, after expanding in the form of cos A, cos B plus sin A, sin B, we got it as two functions over here. Now what we do, we take, now suppose, if f of x is an odd function, if f of x is an odd function, here we have C. We know cos E is an even function. F we have taken as an odd function. Product of even and odd becomes again an odd function. Odd function from minus infinity to infinity will become 0. Right? So this term will become 0. Coming to this value, f of t we have taken as an odd function. Sin t already we have this, we know this is an odd function. So product of two odd functions will become an even function. Even function from minus infinity to infinity can be written as 2 times 0 to infinity. So if you take f of x as an odd function, this value is completely becoming 0. We are left with only this value by 2 times 0 to infinity. That is what I am going to write here. F of x is equal to 2 times, already we have a constant pi over here, integral 0 to infinity sin lambda x, integral 0 to infinity f of t sin lambda t dt d lambda. This is called as Fourier sine integral. This is called as Fourier sine integral. How we got this Fourier sine integral? By assuming that f of x as an odd function. If f of x is an odd function, we can observe that cos we know even. So product of even and odd function will become again an odd function. Odd function from minus infinity to infinity will become 0. So this integral is completely becoming 0. F of t is an odd function. Sine we know it is an odd function again. So product of two odd functions will become an even function. Even function from minus infinity to infinity can be written as 2 times 0 to infinity. So we are left over with 2 times 0 to infinity f of t sin lambda t dt. Already we have sin lambda x with 0 to infinity with d lambda. So this is called as Fourier sine integral. If you want to write down the explanation part clearly, you write the bracket. Ft cos lambda t is odd, integral becomes 0. Ft sin lambda t is even, so integral is becoming 2 times 0 to infinity. Okay? So similarly, if you go with f of x is an even function, automatically sine terms will become 0. We will be left over with cos integral. That is called as Fourier cosine integral over there. We'll see. So I'll continue here. Suppose if you take f of x is an even function. So if f of x is an even function, so f of t cos t will become even automatically it will become 2 times integral 0 to infinity. F of x is even, we know sine is an odd function. So automatically product of even and odd becomes odd, sine will become 0. So what will be the value now? F of x is equal to 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity cos lambda x integral 0 to infinity f of t cos lambda t dt d lambda. This is called as Fourier cosine. If you join these two, even function and odd function as a plus ib, how we write a complex number? A plus or minus ib, we are writing a plus ib or a minus ib. So if you join these two with a combination of I, we can write the value of f of x as 1 by 2 pi, all the values from minus infinity to infinity. Because I have taken both the integrals expanding to negative integral also. F of t, t power I lambda times t minus x dt d1. This is called as complex form of Fourier integral. So from this complex form of Fourier integral only, we will deduce what is a complex Laplace transformation, what is a Fourier transform, what is a Fourier sine transform, what is a Fourier cosine transform from this complex form. How we get this complex form? Simply we are writing it as cos theta plus I sine theta. We know actually the formula is e power I theta. That property we have applied over there. Cos plus I sine. So I have written in the form of e to the power of I. So this is called as complex form of Fourier integral. Okay. So we'll continue with this now. From this, we'll see what actually a Fourier integral is, Fourier transform is, and from this we'll see what is actually a sine transform and what is a cosine transform. So this is actually a complex form of Fourier integral we have. So I'll write on that expansion again, and we'll see how to split it into two separate integrals here. So we have f of x is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e to the power of I. Lambda is some variable, so for our convenience sake, I will convert this lambda into some s. So I s t minus x dt dx. So this is a complex form of Fourier integral we have. Now what I do is I will write it as separately. Integral of t separately, integral of pi s separately. Integral minus infinity to infinity, integral minus infinity to infinity, f of t. How can you write this value? E power ist, e to the power of minus isx dt dx. See, this is a function of t, this is a function of t with dt. That is one integral we'll write. Function of s with ds we'll write as another integral. So what will be the value? 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity e power minus isx integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e to the power of ist dt ds. Clear? Now, this term, whatever we have inside the bracket, this we'll write it as f of x. How can you write the value now? F of x is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity capital F of s e power minus isx dx. And what is f of s over here? Integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e power ist dt. This is called as Fourier transform. This is called as inverse Fourier transform. See that we are having both transform as well as inverse transform in the same integral value. Wherever you come across, if you want to find out a Fourier transform, this is a definition what we have taken over here starting. Do you remember? Function applied on capital F of x, capital F applied on f of x here. Minus infinity to infinity f of x e power isx dx. So this is a Fourier transform for a function f of x or f of t. Similarly, if you write in the reverse way, this is called as inverse Fourier transform. Just like Laplace transform, inverse Laplace transform. In the same way, here we have Fourier transform as well as inverse Fourier transform. So these two are the most important formulae you have to remember, and we apply these formulae to solve the problems in the exercise. Okay, we'll just write down clearly over here. So f of s means integral minus infinity to infinity f of t e power ist dt. This is called as Fourier transform. F of x is equal to integral minus 1 by 2 pi. 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinity to infinity capital F of s e power minus isx ds. This is called as inverse Fourier transform. Actually, we have reduced this from complex form of Fourier integral. Similarly, if you take Fourier sine integral, we get Fourier sine transform. If you reduce from Fourier cosine integral, we get Fourier cosine transform. We'll see those also. So, if you want to calculate the Fourier sine, see the suffix I am writing in the form of s. Fourier sine integral can be written as integral 0 to infinity f of x sine sx dx. And f of x is equal to 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x. Sorry. Fs of s sine sx ds. This is called as Fourier sine transform. This is called as inverse Fourier sine transform. Similarly, if you go with Fourier cosine integral, same we get. That cosine integral we write it as fc. So we denote the term as fc. So how we write down the So we'll go with three important properties in Fourier transforms, and we'll see how to apply these properties also in the exam. In the problem. So we'll start with the first property, which is called as linearity property. We know actually what is meant by a linearity property. If two or more functions are connected linearly, it's some constants. So if Fourier transform of a function f of x is equal to capital F of x, then Fourier transform of a into f of x plus b into g of x. And we know if suppose Fourier transform of g of x is equal to g of x, capital G of x. We know individually these two. And if these two are connected linearly, then this can be written as a times Fourier transform of f of x plus b times Fourier transform of g of x. So this property is called as linearity property. We have the second one, which is called as change of scale property. What actually this property states, if suppose Fourier transform of a function f of x is equal to f of s, capital F of s, then suppose if this x is multiplied with some a, Fourier transform of f of ax can be written as 1 by a Fourier transform of s by a, f of s by a. This is called as change of scale property. And another property also we have, which is a shifting property. What actually this property says, if suppose Fourier transform of f of x is equal to f of s. Suppose Fourier transform of f of x is equal to f of s. Then Fourier transform of f of x minus a is equal to e power ias. E power ias is some function which is in the form of exponent raised to a function of s into Fourier transform of fx, which is f of x. So these three are the most important properties we use while applying the Fourier transform for any given function. Linearity property, change of scale property, and shifting property. So if you complete this, we'll start with doing one or two problems related to this Fourier transformations. Find the Fourier transform of f of x is equal to 1 for mod x less than a is equal to 0 for mod x greater than a. For this function, we are asked to find out the Fourier transform. What is the Fourier transform formula we have seen? Fourier transform of f of x. That is what we have written as capital F of s. What is the formula we have seen? Integral minus infinity to infinity f of x e to the power of isx dx. What is the meaning of mod x less than a? For minus x to x, the function is taking 1. From minus infinity to minus x and from plus x to infinity, the function is taking 0. Correspondingly, we split this integral also. We split it as integral minus infinity to minus e. Minus a to a to infinity. So we split the integral in this format, 3 parts. So minus infinity to minus a, the function is taking 0. And from minus a to a, the function is taking 1. Again from a to infinity, the function is again taking 0. So this integral is 0, this integral is 0. We are left over with only this function. We'll integrate it. What is integral of e power isx? E power isx by x. Between the limits minus a to a. 1 by is times upper limit is e power ias minus lower limit is e power minus x. You can leave like this, or you can multiply and divide with 2. So this will become 2 by s times e power ias minus e power minus ias by 2i. This value we know it is sine. So 2 sine as. That is a simple problem we have. We are given a simple function over here and we are asked to find out the Fourier transform for that corresponding function. That is what we have done in this problem. Just simply we have taken the Fourier transform formula and corresponding to the interval given for the given function, we have substituted that value and we have evaluated the integral part.